Landing just a few days ago here in the Llama Lab, the AppleTV4K Gen III, which they're calling the Apple TV 4K. Now, if you're after a full comprehensive overview of the Apple TV experience with Zwift, I'll link below in the video description to my video from 4 years ago that covers the A to Z of that user experience. Not much has changed since then, so that's still relevant today. However, this video is all about the latest generation, Gen 3, the 2022 edition. I've chosen the 128 gig version of the next gen Apple TV 4K for no good reason other than it wasn't that much more expensive than the 64 gig version, and it has a few more networking capabilities, such as an Ethernet port, and can act as a thread border router. Now that doesn't matter for now. That was a nerdy reference that I'll leave right there. Look, this is one of the biggest step ups in hardware we've seen in recent generations or upgrades from Apple on the Apple TV 4K range. Comes with an A15 Bionic CPU, which is the same CPU as the iPhone 13. It has a smaller form factor, is a fanless design, and as I've mentioned, the 128 gig version has a few more additional networking things there. And a big bonus for the Apple TV Siri remote, it now comes with a USB-C port for charging, which makes life a lot better when you're looking for a cable to charge things with. Also, cheaper pricing is a welcome addition, coming in at $50 under US than the previous model. So the 64 gig model comes in at $129 US, and the 128 gig model with the additional networking capabilities comes in at $149 US. Now, Apple claims the A15 brings up to 50% faster CPU performance than the Generation 2 Apple TV 4K, which was the A12, and up to 30% faster graphics performance. Okay, on to the unboxing of the Apple TV 4K with Wi-Fi and Ethernet. It's a smaller package than previous models. And it definitely is smaller than the Generation 2 Apple TV 4K. Oh, one moment, we have to do this. And the base. Alrighty, there we are. Power, Ethernet, HDMI. And it does feel a lot lighter than previous generation. I've had to mark mine Apple TV 4K 2021 because I've got all of the editions which were hard to differentiate. Yeah, a lot lighter than this one. So much so I think it's worth even pulling in the weight scales. Not that this really matters anyway, but just as an FYI, we have 214 grams for the new Apple TV 4K Gen III, 418. That's a monster. All right, cool. That's the main unit. Next up is the remote. Oh. Which is very similar. They feel about the same. Biggest difference is this one's USB-C. Whereas this one's Lightning. I believe everything else remains the same for those. I'm not going to bother weighing those, they feel about the same. All that's left in the box is a power cable. So that's it really, a smaller unit and a lighter unit. And no active cooling, it's passive cooling with heat sinks on this. Whereas this one here has the fans built into here. I'm wondering how this would go jammed behind a television that people have been doing with these ones. Whether it will overheat or not, we don't know. I guess we'll find out once they're out in the field. The big question that always pops up with a new generation of Apple TV coming out is Bluetooth limits. Do they still exist? Unfortunately, yes. In my initial testing, any more than 2 Bluetooth smart devices to this unit results in the third device just not connecting or not sending any data. That was tested with both Zwift and FulGaz. So initially, not looking too good. However, if there are additional Bluetooth slots available on this device, it's up to the developers to unlock that capability if it is at all possible. I'm not holding out too much hope. Performance-wise, unfortunately, I don't have good news there either. Now, it's not like when you upgrade an iPhone and the software is tied to the hardware very, very closely. Cycling apps are third-party software for these devices. And as such, the developers probably have only just got their hands on this hardware and haven't made any changes to take advantage of the new capabilities and capacity on this device. For platforms such as FulGaz, the 128 gig version of the Apple TV will allow you to download more courses to ride without having to stream them, so that's a bonus there for the higher capacity version. Now over on Zwift, this Gen 3 hardware doesn't have any specific graphics tweaks just yet. It is still using the basic graphics profile. Now this is exactly what happened when the Generation 2 Apple TV 4K was released. They defaulted to the most basic setting to ensure it just works right away, and then made a few updates soon after to make things look a little better. So as of right now, the Generation 2 Apple TV 4K looks a little better. I suspect the December update to Zwift may bring the Gen 2 and Gen 3 Apple TV 4Ks into line. And maybe in the future, the Generation 3 Apple TV 4K can have some additional tweaks to take advantage of the faster CPU and graphics subsystem. Now, as a reference, I will show you the Apple TV HD right here. And yes, don't adjust your televisions. It is really this slow and this bad on the Apple TV HD, the very old version of the Apple TV. To keep within the Apple theme of this video, here is Zwift running on a MacBook Pro M1 Max, which is without a doubt a massive step up from the Apple TV 4K, but not quite as polished as Zwift on a high-end gaming PC. So to answer the question, is the Apple TV 4K Gen 3 a worthy upgrade if you use it for cycling apps? Well, if you own a Gen 1 or a Gen 2, no, not really, not unless you need the 128 gig storage capacity. If you're an owner of an older Apple TV, the Apple TV HD, absolutely. That thing is really slow by today's standards. I guess if you do the upgrade from an older version, you get the newer remote with the click navigation. This thing came out with the Gen 2 Apple TV 4K and makes life a lot easier trying to navigate your way around, well, clumsy Apple TV interfaces, which, let's be honest, they all are. And being $50 cheaper on the shelf makes the decision a little easier too if you're on the fence. That definitely bucks the trend of what we've been seeing in the tech space recently. And with that, we'll leave it there. All right, Maxie, help me finish this one out since you've walked into the room. Say, hit subscribe.
Hit subscribe.
Thumbs up. And we will see you soon.